Welcome back to my channel. So on today's video I'll be showing you how I made this dress. Please like, subscribe and share, and then let's just start with the tutorial. So on this pattern paper I'm gonna be cutting out the front and the back at the same time. So here what I will do is I'm just gonna be measuring 1 inches. So while measuring 1 inches, in total it's gonna be 3 inches. So I'm just measuring 3 inches here, and then I will divide the 3 inches by 1, which I just measured 1 inches. And then here I'm just making the vertical lines. I will show you once I'm done what I'm talking about. And then this is it. So the next thing for me to do here, I'm just going to make a horizontal line. This will be my shoulder line, and then all the measurements I'll be measuring vertically will start on the shoulder line length. And then here on this line what I will do is I'm just gonna go down by 10 inches. So that one is the bust point, and then I will go down by 17 inches. That will be my waist. And then for my hip I'm just gonna go down by 6 inches, which is 23 inches, and then also the full length of my dress. So after doing that I will do the horizontal lines. So basically when I draft my patterns I always start with the vertical measurements. So I'm just gonna be leveling the shoulder line. I will label the bust line, and then the waist and hip, and also the full length of my dress. Well, on this line here I will measure my shoulder to shoulder measurement. So my shoulder to shoulder measurement, I will divide it by 2. So mine is 14 inches. I divided it 14 by 2, and then I will also just mark 4 inches here in the middle. So the 4 inches I marked there is just for the neck hole. And then I will come on this point here, I will go down by 1 inch, and this is to just create the shoulder slope. So I will join these 2 points together. That's it. And I will come here on this line, and then I will just go down by 3.5 inches. So it just depends on how deep you want your neck hole to be. So I'm just going to take my curve ruler and then just make a curve. And here on the shoulder line I created, I will take my armhole circumference, divide it by 2, and then make a mark. So here in my case it's 8 inches. So I will take my ruler and then just make a line here like this. So after doing that, what I will do is I will join these 2 lines together, these 2 points together like this, and then after that I will find the middle point of the line I have here. So I'm gonna divide the 8 inches by 2, which is 4 inches, and then I will also take my bust circumference, divided by 4, then make a mark. And then after making a mark, I'm just gonna also make a straight line up to the line I created there. So I will just take my curve ruler and then join the 2 points together. So here what I will do is I will just come on the waistline, take my waist circumference, divide by 4, and then make a mark. And I'll also do the same on the hip circumference, divide by 4, and then just make a mark. And then after doing that, I will join the points together. And then here on the bottom part of my dress, the full length of my dress, I'm just going to take the point I have on the hip line and then just do take the same measurements to the line I have here on the bottom of my dress, and then I will just go out by 1/2 inch, and then I will just join the 2 points together. So here I'm gonna come on this line here, and then I will just mark 2 inches, and this line here will be for the back part of my dress. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna be cutting out the front first, the back first, and then I'll just trace the back on a different pattern paper. So I will just fold on the line I have like this. So I'm just gonna fold this part here like this, and then after doing that I will just take my scissor and then cut out this part on the pattern paper. And then after cutting this, I'm just gonna be tracing out exactly what I have. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm just cutting the back pattern first, and the difference on this pattern, it's only the neck hole. So on the front, the neck hole, it's a little bit lower, and then on the back part it's shorter. So after doing that, what I will do is I'm just gonna be cutting out and that's it. I've cut out the back. So on the front pattern, what I will do is I'm just gonna be cutting out exactly here on this line, and then after cutting this part, then I'll be having the full front pattern. And that's it. So I have the front and the back. So the next thing for me to do with this pattern is to only just cut out on the fabric that I'm gonna be using. So now what I will do is I'm just gonna be cutting out the sleeve. I'll be cutting my sleeve on fold. So I have my pattern paper here on fold. So what I will do is I'll just make a horizontal line like this, and then after making a horizontal line, I will take the measurement I have on the armhole on my pattern paper. I'll just measure the armhole length I have. So the measurements that I get here is the measurement that I'm going to measure there on the horizontal line I made. So in my case, I have 9 inches. So I'm just going to be marking 9 inches. And then on the point that I marked 9 inches, I will just go down here by 5 inches and then make a point, and then after that I'm just gonna be creating a curve like this, and then after that I will measure the full length of my sleeve. And after that I will just make another horizontal line, and then now I will take my arm circumference, divide by 2, and then I'll make a mark, and then after making a mark I will join the 2 points together. And then after doing that I'll just cut out. So if you check on the pattern that I made earlier, and also this pattern sleeve, there's no sewing allowance, so I'll be adding the sewing allowance when I cut out on the fabric. So I've cut out the back pattern. So while cutting out the back pattern, I added half an inch for the sewing allowance, and also just added 2 inches at the bottom of the dress for the length. So now what I will do is I'm just gonna fold this part here and then just cut, and then after cutting this, I'm going to cut on my fabric. So while cutting on the fabric, I will be also adding the 0.5 inches for the sewing allowance, but I will only do that on the sides and on the neckline. So here on the side where I'm going to insert the buttons, I'm just gonna cut exactly, like as you can see, I will just cut exactly on where the pattern paper ends, and then here on the neckline, then I will just add the 0.5 for the sewing allowance. And that's it. I've cut out the front, and then for the other second part of the front, I'm just gonna come here on the shoulder line, and then I'll mark 2 inches. I'll go in by 2 inches, and then from there I'll just extend the line here straight down, and then after that I'll just cut it. So these are the other two parts for my front. So what I will do now is I'm just gonna be cutting out this part first on my fabric. So this is what I have. I'm just gonna be cutting out. So this is just me making sure that I have a straight line, and then here I will just add the 0.5 for the sewing allowance. So for this other part, what I will do is I'm just also going to cut out, adding the 0.5 for the sewing allowance. So I'm just going to be joining these two pieces afterwards. So basically I will have 3 pieces for the front and then only 1 piece for the back. And then now what I will be doing is I will just be marking the 3 inches I have for where I'm going to put my buttons. So I'm just going to mark the 3 inches right there, and then after marking the 3 inches right there, and I'll be putting the violin here, which is 1 inches, and then the length of the violin is the full length of the dress. So I'm just going to be placing this here right on the edge, and then just iron, and then when I iron this, it will be sticking on. So this is just me ironing. Just make sure that the violin is right on the edge. And then I will fold in here like this, and then I will iron again. And after ironing this part here, I will also again fold in like this. So you see now I've covered the 3 inches for the buttons. And then I will iron this. So I'm just going to do this with also the other part of the front. And the other part of the front, I mean where I'm also going to insert the buttons. So when inserting the value, you can put it on the inner side of the dress, which is the wrong side. So I'm just going to be doing the same here. I will iron this until I fold it in. And this is how it looks after ironing. So, and this is where I'm going to be inserting my buttons and the buttonhole. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to secure this part here. So I'm just going to make a stitch and secure this part, and I'll also do the same on the other part of the front, on both my front pieces. And this is it, I have secured. So the next thing for me to do right now is to just join those other two parts of the front. And for me to join these two parts here, I'll be using a French method, where I will firstly just align this right side facing, and then I will just pin this down, and then after pinning it down, what I will do is I'm just going to make a stitch after that. So this is right side facing, so I'm just going to make a stitch here to join these two together. Remember guys, I'm using the French method to join the two pieces together, and then this is how it looks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to press this part here just to make sure that it's nice and clean, and then after pressing this part here, what I will do is I will just fold in this part here like this, and then I will pin down here, and then after pinning this part down, what I will do is I will make a stitch, and then by making a stitch I will just make sure that the seam that I have in the inside is covered. So I'm just going to make a stitch right here. And this is it, this is how it looks. And then I will just press this part, and after pressing I will just join the front and the back together, right side facing. So I'm just gonna be joining the shoulders and also the sides, leaving the armhole open like this. So I'll just join the shoulder lines and also the sides of the dress. And this is what I have. I've already joined the sides and the shoulder line. So the next thing for me to do is to just work on the sleeves. So I will just take my pattern paper for the sleeve and then just cut out on the fabric. So this is it. So I'm just going to be joining this together, right side facing, and then after that I will just join the sleeves to the dress. And this is what I have. I've joined the sleeves to the dress. So the next thing for me to do is to work on the neckline. So for the neckline, I'll be using a bias tape. So I have this white bias tape right here. So I'm just going to be inserting the bias tape here on the neckline. So if you can also use the interfacing method, but then in my case I'm just using the bias tape. So I'll be placing the bias tape here, and then just sew. And then after sewing, then I will just fold in again and then attach everything together. But then let me just show you what I have after sewing. So this is what I have. Now what I will do is I will just fold in this part here and then fold in again and then just make a stitch. And this will just help me to close down the rough edges I have on the neckline. So I'm just going to be folding in again and then make a stitch. And then this is what I have. And then after that, I will come here on the front part of the dress. This is where I'm just going to put in the buttons. So I'm just going to be marking 4 inches. So the distance between my buttons and the buttonhole will be 4 inches. So I'm just going to be marking 4 inches. And then I will take it to 8, then 12, 16, 20, and then 24. And then after that, I will take it to 28 inches. So I'm just going to be doing this on this other part again. And then for this other part here, what I will do is I'll just be making straight lines here. And this is where I'm just going to create the buttonhole. So what I will do now, I will just insert the buttons and also create the buttonholes, and then I will show you after that. And this is how my dress look after inserting the button and the buttonholes. So the next thing for me to do is to just hem the bottom part of my dress and also the sleeves. And that's it for today's tutorial. Thank you so much for